So with that, and a look at the young guys, many of whom are here, many of whom are on the way, it's a great time to check in on where the excitement level sits for you Giants fans. 888-957-9570. It has been a wild, I don't know how many days I'd put on it. 3, 4, 5 a week days with regard to the sport of baseball here in the Bay Area. The uniqueness and the energy and emotion of last night in Oakland combined with things like Matos getting called up, the Giants moving into a playoff spot, the energy that has been missing, because let's think about it. The last, year plus of baseball in the Bay has felt very drab. It is like you look at it and you're like, the A's thing is just incredibly depressing.
Yep.
And meantime, that's been the vibe around the Giants, which is that they're here, but gosh, they just can't give us anything to sink our teeth into. Well, all at once, the A's thing comes to a head, and now the Giants move into a spot where, and I get it, like I love this stuff. I'm a huge Giants fan, but man, watching a game right now, watching that game this morning, it hasn't felt like that in a couple of years. And the only way I can describe it, and the young guys are a big part of this, is that when the Giants are hitting, every single player who comes up, you're like, it could happen right now. It could get going. The rally could start. It doesn't feel like they've got soft spots in the lineup.
Right.
And there are people you circle who are like, Dibs, I drove fast. I sped home from the dog park today because I knew that at 10:15 with the pitch clock, probably by 10:17,
right.
I'm like, Matos is hitting. And I got to get to the TV by the time Matos. I haven't felt like that about a Giants at bat in I don't know how long.
Well, Casey Schmidt, you were excited about Casey Schmidt, certainly when he got called up.
So all of that here within the last few weeks.
To your point, it's a greater point of, as a Giants fan, you start to get more excited now because you've heard Farhan talk, and he'll be on our show tomorrow, 5:15, 5:20-ish, Farhan Zaidi here on Willard and Dibs, and you can ask him about his excitement because I'm sure he's more excited than you are that these guys are finally here. Even though he didn't draft Luis Matos, he's been a part of the player development, and I'm glad we talked about that with our previous guest, and he makes a great point about it's player development. Yes, you can draft players, but if they don't develop, what's the point? And we can get into that with our Golden State Warrior conversation coming up in terms of player development, because everyone wants to say the Warriors haven't developed Jonathan Kuminga and all the rest of it. Well, in baseball, it's a lot more difficult in terms of player development. So Matos is just now 21, and he's just now able to make it to the major leagues. So what have you done for him? What has he done for himself over the course of his minor league career to get to this point? And Kyle Harrison and Casey Schmidt and Patrick Bailey and all the rest of them, they have to develop on their own, but you have to put them in a spot where they get better too.
I mean, the fact that this is happening in the midst of winning, that's exciting. That doesn't happen. And that's being undersold right now. And that's kind of my point with the conversation.
Is, it's good for now, but if this continues, then I'll be a little bit more eager to buy into that.
Sure. It's early. They're only 36 and 32.
And this is why I think you're so excited, because it's actually happening in the midst of winning. And if you look at their record with Patrick Bailey behind the dish, it's about a .667 win percentage. And if you look at their record since Schmidt got recalled, they've won games. And now Matos is undefeated since he's been a Giant. So it has happened for a decent amount of time. To your point, this is all happening with the season turning around.
Well, 17 and 23, that was the low point on May 14th. And now they sit here at 36 and 32. My really, really quick math suggests that means they've gone 19 and, is that right? 19, 19 and 9. 19 and 9.
They were 16 and 23.
They were 17 and 23. They had lost
19
three.
And 9,
they lost 3 in a row in Arizona. They're 17 and 23. And from that point forward, they have gone 19 and 9. And yes, that coincides right with shortly after Schmidt got here, when Bailey got here, because Bailey showed up in the Miami series, which was right on the heels of a 4-game win streak when they swept Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And Miami came to town, and now you've got Luis Matos and
Schmidt got called up for the Washington.
Yes.
And they split those last 2, and then they lost 3 of 4 to Arizona, which is right when you're referencing when the turnaround happened. So Schmidt actually came up, my God, 8 of his first 12.
Yep.
8 for 12.
Oh, dude.
He came in on fire, and then that kind of led to them starting to win games. Bailey, Schmidt, and you mentioned now Matos.
And by the way,
Keaton win.
This Schmidt downturn, if you will, they knew. They all knew. That's how it works. Even what you heard Kyle Glazer just say. He does not project as a guy who's going to go out and hit 330. They don't need him to. But you're going to come into the league. The league's going to get a book on you, and then they're going to attack the book. And for Casey, that's a really easy book because he's just such a free swinger. He goes after everything. So now they're not throwing him any strikes.
5 for 33 in June.
Yep. So,
with 3 runs batted in and an OPS of 419.
Yep.
To your point.
Yeah, so he's struggling. And I remember talking to Kapler. I'm going to hold up the keyword, by the way, and the number to text.
Try the left hand. Your right arm was working.
You're right. It is good. Well, when I hold to the left hand, I can't see you.
That's fine. What do you
I
need
could
to
do
see
it
me
over
for?
here.
I'm locked in on
you're
your
a
every
good-looking
syllable.
man.
Appreciate it.
So
Not according to this camera.
Well, boy, the camera. Best part about our move is going to be that
Dude,
guy.
you were out last week for a day. Larry sat in for you. He sat in for me. I was over there. I was looking good,
You
dude.
look like you lost 42 pounds. Exactly.
Seriously.
Right? I'm telling you, man.
Forget soda. It's a sea change. Although I love soda. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I want to be
soda
next.
in there, but
Nahigian's lobbying to be next.
right? The first thing after the soda diet is just to switch chairs to this side of the room.
Totally.
You'll be like, it's amazing. So anyway, I'm holding up the word and the number to text right now. If you're on Twitch and YouTube, check it out. Text it in and see if you can end up in the Warriors introductory press conference. If you're not on Twitch and YouTube, get over there right now. I'll hold it up for a couple of minutes, and we'll hold it up again later in the 4 o'clock hour. But when we talked to Gabe at the Miami series, he was like, the slump for Casey is coming. He knew. The struggles are coming because that's how it works in the big leagues. These are big league pitchers, and they're going to figure out your weaknesses, and they're going to come after you. But the
Scouting report on facing him is don't throw strikes.
Don't throw strikes. And if you do, it better be your strike, like a pitcher's strike. And that's why they got him to ground into a double play to get out of that jam in the first inning today. All of that stuff. But the Giants, none of their excitement is gone for Casey Schmidt. I want to point out that what's happening right now was Farhan's philosophy, and he has been roundly ripped for it. And for the moment, it's only a moment, so there's no victory lap yet.
Not
for
to
Farhan.
cut you off.
What?
Part of his, and you're right, it was a 3-pronged plan. One of the prongs he's still woefully missing out on.
Which is?
Free agents.
Okay, that's fine. But no, what I'm talking about.
The other piece of it, you're right.
When he got here, they said, hey, Farhan, you going to rebuild?
Fix the farm.
And he said, no. We're not going to rebuild. We're going to retool.
Your Farhan's not very good.
And we're going
to. Thank you.
Oh, that's not even.
That's a 4.
That's me imitating you, imitating your snivelly Kyle.
I gave you a 4.
So he said, we're going to win while we retool. And it doesn't mean that that's happened yet. But I can't understate the excitement and the wonder at the idea of going 19-9 while you're bringing up minor leaguers. That's incredible. Teams don't get to do that. You don't go 19-9 when handing positions like shortstop off to people in their early 20s. Catcher.
Yeah.
This guy's running the pitching staff, and they're going 19-9. That is elite stuff when you can do that. I don't know if it's sustainable, but if you're a fan, that right there has got to be what you hang your hat on when you go to bed at night, is the fact that young guys are coming up and they're winning at the same time. That's why I told Larry and Shasky on Twitter last night, you can do both. This doesn't need to be about development or winning. It can be about both at the exact same time. That's what we've seen the last few weeks.
And it will be about both if the young players continue to play like this. And Bailey is 13-6 in games in which he catches. So he catches and you win at a clip. 2 out of every 3 games is basically the way that's gone. And, sorry for Joey Bart, but it looks like you're going to need some misfortune or a long slump to make it back to the big club, or you head to the trade deadline and maybe you wind up getting a change of scenery down the road. But for right now, the young players that have come up have done extraordinarily well.
I'll tell you something about Ramos and Bart here in just a few, but let's go to Daniel in Walnut Creek on Willie and Dibby. Hey, Daniel, what are you doing?
Just driving home from work. I just wanted to chime in on the whole vibe with the Giants, and it's pretty exciting, man.
No doubt. How has this changed your thought on Farhan, if at all?
Well, it's almost like he's kind of taking a page out of Brian Sabian's book, and going back to the farm system and kind of structuring our team from the bottom up. So it feels good that, if you lose, let it be with the players that you pick, not players that are just on the free agent market and they just want to play here, stop for 1 year, and then go somewhere else,
Well, that's still yeah. Daniel, thanks, man. That's still the big question out there. If I had any Farhan questions left, my biggest one would be.
And you can ask him tomorrow.
5:15. 5:20. Yeah, 5:15, 5:20.
I try and get the audience here early.
I appreciate you. Remember when he said that they've had a hard time convincing free agents basically to come to this spot in the world? That's still a concern.
London breed.
That's scary to me. And I wonder if he still feels that because they're bringing in Jock Peterson and Mitch Haniger and all these people have local ties. So
and short deals. They haven't found a way to really ink a big free agent or any free agent for a long deal.